Hi guys, this week on Yogiescape Tutorial I want to share with you more about my story and my vision for this channel. Before I start talking about my journey, I just wanted to give a little disclaimer that says that this isn't every part of it, and I would really love to share with you every part of my journey if I could, but that would take almost a year of explaining things. So if you have any extra questions, ask them in the comments below and I will definitely get around to answering your questions. So I struggled with anxiety and depression for years of my life. So my story didn't really start when I got depression, obviously. It started much before then when I was born. But when I got depression was when I started to realize what was meaningful to me in my life. So when I was in grade 10, my grandfather passed away, and this was the first time that I really ever dealt with extreme grief, and I didn't really know how to process it. So I fell into a deep depression later that school year. This grief led to a depression that also led to a bunch of bad coping mechanisms, which just furthered myself into a deeper depression. So for the last 3 months of grade 10, I stopped going to school. I was very depressed and didn't want to get out of bed in the mornings. I just wanted to cry, and I would stay up late at night just thinking. And it was a lot to process for me. Some things that I still didn't even process and were just repressed. So because I stopped going to school for 3 months, I was put on antidepressants, I was put on Cipralex, and being on Cipralex was really hard because whenever I had to wake up and take a pill to make me quote-unquote normal again, I just felt like I wasn't myself. Not only did I feel like I wasn't myself, I felt like I couldn't be myself and couldn't love myself for having depression. So when this was going on, depression was something that wasn't heavily talked about, and there was a very huge stigma around it. So at the end of grade 11, I came off of antidepressants, and then I moved on to just kind of coping with things as they came day by day, not really knowing what to do, and just struggling through my last few years of high school. I had a really good friend who brought me in to see a free counselor one day, and they gave me the best advice that I've ever been given. They said, when you get older, go talk to somebody about your childhood and your problems in depth, and just dig deep into that healing and try and learn fully about yourself. This is the best advice I ever gotten because I had been through therapy and in the future was going to go through therapy, which was just suppressing the problem and learning coping mechanisms to deal with it instead of actually healing. So when university came, I went to school 4 hours away from home, and it became a bit of party city for me. I was studying something I didn't really love and was just slowly falling into a deeper depression every day. I was living in a lot of a failure mindset when I started university. So I started university studying computer science, which really didn't resonate with me, and I mainly did it because I thought that was somewhere where I could make money in the future, and that didn't really make me happy. By the time I was finished my first year, I knew that I never wanted to code again after university, and that should have been my biggest sign to stop doing what I was doing. So I had this failure mindset where I would just struggle to pass classes. I would do assignments to the bare minimum of what they needed. I failed a lot of things in my first year of university. I actually remember getting 8% on one assignment and just feeling happy that I got any marks at all. So at the end of my first year, I had failed calculus because I had never taken trig before in my life or a calculus course. And I remember thinking, oh, I just need 30% on my exam to pass, and I did not pass that class. So the best thing that I ever did was take career counseling. So career counseling helped me learn about where I wanted to be in the future, what I wanted in my life, what I valued, what kind of lifestyle I wanted to be living, and what could help me support that lifestyle. This was the first time that I ever had to look at long-term goals in my life. Even though I was doing career counseling, I still felt a huge disconnect between where I was currently and where I wanted to be in life. So my first semester of my second year, I actually dropped out completely. I was just mentally unwell and not able to keep up with deadlines and just dealing with too much to even think about finishing my semester. So this was the second time that doctors suggested that I be put on antidepressants, and I listened again because I really didn't know what else to do with myself at this time. I didn't know how to cope, and I didn't feel as if I could support myself alone without medication. Personally for me, both times that I've been on antidepressants weren't very great for me. I felt overwhelmed by their effects, and it didn't really feel like it was helping me, but more numbing me out so that I could go through my day. I always felt really bad about needing something to be who I was, and I felt much better when I could learn how to cope with these things. But those are my personal views, and every situation is different. Everybody is different. Antidepressants work great for a lot of people. So jumping back to career counseling, I was very happy to do career counseling because it helped me realize that going to school is not about making money. And it was really about studying something that would benefit you in the long term. So I had switched my degree to psychology, which was amazing when I did it. It was like an eye-opener. I loved my psychology classes, and I went from being a C to D student to an A student very quickly. So switching my major was one of the first things that really helped me move towards, a life that was like looking up, that was happier and more pleasant to be in. I still dealt with a lot of uncomfortable feelings when I switched because I had so much to heal from the past. So in my second year of psychology, which was my third year of school, I was very blessed to take health psychology with a very amazing professor who taught me goal-setting tips that changed my life forever. So she gave us an assignment about habits, and she wanted us to start or break a habit in our life. So one of the things I was thinking a lot about doing was getting active as a way to help anxiety and depression. So with building this new habit, I started practicing 30 days of yoga, and I actually made it through all 30 days. So the goal I was working with at this time was I will practice yoga Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 10 minutes at least each of these days. I worked with the same goal for years, and I worked with tracking it for 2 to 3 years until I realized that tracking it wasn't working personally for me, and that I already had established this habit and wanted to work with more of the mind and more of the ease of flowing and getting onto my mat and using it as a tool for healing instead of using it as a tool to make my body look better. So the thing about starting a yoga practice is that we often think that when we start, everything feels so great and that it's very easy to return to. But for me, it wasn't that way. For the first year to two of my yoga practice, I was still severely depressed to the point where I was getting on my mat every day and still at night having suicidal thoughts, having negative thoughts, crying, not being able to even cope with my feelings, wanting to punch walls and kick things, and I was just very apathetic and not able to deal with the emotions going on inside of me. So for the first year and a half I was practicing yoga, I was using it as an escape, hence the name Yogiescape. But after that I started to realize that there are other uses of yoga and other ways to use it as a tool to build that mental stamina, that resilience that I really wanted to have in my life. So if you follow me on Instagram, you probably know that I used to practice Ashtanga yoga. I practiced very heavily for about, 6 to 8 months of 1 year, and I actually did teacher training that focused heavily on Ashtanga yoga. So Ashtanga yoga definitely changed my way of thinking about the yoga practice. It is a practice that asks you to show up every day, have no expectations of what happened yesterday or what will happen tomorrow. Just show up and practice the same set of poses and observe how the body and mind changes and fluctuates day by day, or even breath by breath in the practice. It is a style of yoga that asks you to keep your eyes open because yoga is not about tuning out, it's about tuning in. This was a very difficult practice for me to do because I always use yoga as a way of tuning out and escaping from reality. For the longest time, actually, to me, yoga was about blissing out, and it wasn't about dealing with the heavy emotions and the things that come up throughout our practice. So I didn't really see any heavy changes in my depression until I started practicing a style that really helped me heal, and that was Ashtanga yoga. I did my yoga teacher training in Ashtanga Vinyasa, so my favorite thing about my yoga teacher training was everything that I got to learn about myself. I got to learn about all the blocks that I had placed into my mind that were stopping me from moving forward in my life past these symptoms of depression and past these symptoms of anxiety. I got to learn about where energy travels and how thoughts really affect that energy. I also got to learn about Buddhism, which was something that really helped me along my journey to find something to believe in. I really love the teachings of Buddhism because they talk a lot about how life is suffering, and for me that was something that really resonated with me because I had been through so much suffering in the past few years of dealing with depression. So Ashtanga Yoga gave me a way to feel better about myself in my depression, but also gave me a healing tool. It brought up a lot of physical and mental blocks and ailments so that I could learn that healing is not done, and when my body is telling me something, I need to listen. So I know this video is jumping all over the place and I'm trying to stick to a path, but there's just so much about my healing journey that I would love to share with you, and I will keep sharing as these videos go on week by week. So when I got to take health psychology, I got to learn more about depression and how it affects the mind and body. Before taking health psychology, I didn't truly understand how depression affected the body. I always thought it was just based on the mind, and I didn't see the connections. Yoga was something that truly helped me bridge the connection between the mind and body, and it was one of the reasons why I chose yoga as a practice instead of choosing to work out or something else. What I learned through my healing journey was that even though this was something that might be happening to me my entire life, it wasn't something that I had to run from. It was something that I could embrace and love about myself. And I know it sounds silly to say, like, you love yourself for having depression, but truly it is the parts of my life still that I get to learn the most about myself. When I shut down and have to deal with the hard feelings, those are the times when I learn the most. So I truly believe every experience that I've had from that moment in grade 10 where I really fell into a depression to now has shaped me into who I am today. So I talked a lot about depression in this video and not so much touching on my anxiety, but that is definitely something that I would like to talk about in the future. I am so happy with who I am and where I am, and even though I still sometimes fall into depressive cycles or have a panic attack or feel anxious, I am able to embrace it and realize that it is all energy. It's all signals from the body and mind telling us where we need to heal. So I really hope you enjoyed that story video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comments below. I'm an open book and open to answering any of your questions that you may have. If you enjoyed this video, I would be so grateful if you could subscribe to my channel and like the video below. Hope you guys have an awesome day. See you next Thursday.